Hi everyone, Janae here. Welcome to my channel. For any newbies, if you are a subscriber, welcome back. Thank you so much. I just filmed a few videos and you'll see this, like all this, in at least 2 other videos. And I kind of decided to do this video off the cuff. It's a bit of a discussion. It's book related, but I will kind of go off a bit on a tangent. And I just hope that I can bring this all around and have you all understand where I'm coming from. So I filmed a video a while ago and I haven't posted it yet. I'm the worst. Responding to a video that KindleReads did actually about beauty and relatability in the characters in the books that we read. I will post that video before I post this one though. So I will link that below. I will also link her video below. I just think it's a great discussion to have. And the video really talked about things like diversity and representation and things of that nature. And I talked a little bit about why I think those things are important, but I want to talk a little bit more, especially in light of recent events. If you are not someone who enjoys talking about or thinking about or discussing, you know, kind of the social climate of our country at this time, this might not be the video for you. I completely understand that. All I ask is that in the comments we remain as respectful as possible. I want to talk a little bit about diversity. Diversity in books, diversity in TV shows and movies and any other media, magazines, any other media that you can think of, and why it is important. As we all know, hopefully, we have had quite a few instances of, you know, I'll just say it, African American men and women, and not only African American men and women, not only by any means, but largely African American men and women and children being harassed or, you know, assaulted or even murdered through circumstances that if they weren't African American, it's hard to imagine that those things would have happened. And so when I talk about, and so you might wonder, how are these things related? I will take the very most kind of recent thing that's happened, in that the case of Tamir Rice, who was a 12-year-old child who was in Ohio playing with a toy gun on a playground by himself. Someone called the police on him because they thought he was, you know, I think the caller said, you know, a young man about 20 or so playing with a gun in the park in Ohio and Cleveland. Regardless of how you feel about the facts of this case, one thing that has come from it is that, first of all, the person who called the police said that they thought that this boy was about 20 years old and he was 12. And then you have the police officers saying they thought that he was a threat, they thought he was a grown man, all of these different things. Even in the case of Michael Brown, who was shot and killed in Ferguson, Missouri, the officers mentioned that he thought he looked like a demon. The reason diversity is so important in the things that we watch, the things that we consume, is because if you can't look at a 12-year-old child and see a child and not a grown, terrifying man, that is a problem. First of all, in Cleveland, Ohio is an open carry state, meaning you can walk around with your gun whenever you feel like it. And so the fact that a 12-year-old boy was shot and killed because he had a toy gun, not threatening anyone, he was by himself in a park, that happened because those police officers came to the scene and saw somebody completely other to them and could not reconcile who they saw as being an innocent child. That is what happens when the only time that African Americans, or the majority of the time that African Americans, and especially males, are portrayed on TV and in books and any other type of media as criminals and thugs and people who just generally don't want the best for the people around them. I can tell you that as an African American woman, I am surrounded by people who look like me often. And I have never had, I trust me and believe, I know that there are bad people in this world. There are bad people who are black, white, Asian, gay, straight, there are bad people in this world. I know that. But to look at a child not harming anyone and shoot them like seconds after you arrive is wrong. And it happens because the only time many people see or encounter African American people is in the media. And when those representations are not real, when they come from the imagination of someone, or when they come from a very small group of that group, that's what you get. That's what you get. That's why there are so many people who are just okay with the fact that a 12-year-old child is dead for playing with a toy in the playground. Because they look at him and don't see someone they can relate to. Don't see a child. They see a menace. Many of these people not really ever having meaningful interactions with someone that doesn't look like them. And so what they believe is what they see. And that's why what we see and what we read and what we hear needs to be more representative of the people and the groups as they actually are. Black people are people. Gay people are people. Asian people are people. White people are people. We are people. And yes, again, as I said before, there are bad people in any category. When a 12-year-old, I'm going to keep saying this, when a 12-year-old child is killed by the police for playing with a toy in the playground near his house, and his 13-year-old sister is not allowed to even go to him and help, when the police officers, who I'm sure are trained in CPR, see him laying dead on the ground and not even trying to help. At this point, even if he is a threat, he's not anymore. You've incapacitated him. Now it's time to try to resuscitate. That didn't happen because when they looked at him, what they saw was other. What they saw was, some movie or TV show portrayal of an African American man that in their mind justified killing this child. And so when I talk about, and when people talk about the fact that diversity matters, it's because people are dying. Because other people don't see them as people. You don't see the humanity in someone. When you have a black character in a book and the only reason they're there is to be black, and they play a sport and maybe they're a little rough around the edges, okay. But if there's nothing else, if that's all you see, then that's all you think about black people. If the only gay person in a book is just there to be gay and to be flamboyant and to be kind of like the comic relief or the whatever to the main character, that's what you begin to think about gay people. We are all more than what we look like, because what we look like cannot tell the story of what we've been through and who we are as people. It's not possible. And so when we call for more diversity and more representation of all underrepresented groups, this is why. It doesn't seem like a big deal that you don't have a lot of, black characters in mainstream books that are portrayed in a way that makes them seem like human beings. But it matters when you look at a child and you see a grown man, because that's the image that you have of African American males, young males in general. That's what happens. That is why diversity is important. That is why I'm talking about this topic. It is loosely related to books, but again, I stated in my first video ever that this is going to be a primarily booktube channel, but it won't only be about books. I will talk about other things, and books are kind of what brought me to this topic. We have to be able to see the humanity in other people. And when you don't get to interact with many groups of people that don't look like you or don't have the same beliefs as you, and you get your main source of information about those groups of people is the media in some way, shape, or form, it is important that those people are represented the way that they are and not the way that someone has imagined them or based off of one encounter that they've had with a group of people. or based on all the stereotypes that have been perpetuated throughout our media, throughout time and over time. That is why diversity is important. That was a pretty heavy topic. I'm going to leave it there. I hope no one is offended by this. I hope that if there's a discussion that happens, it can be civil and that it can be civil, and that we can respect the humanity of the people that we are conversing with. I will say this. BookTube has been so supportive. I understand that this video might reach beyond BookTube. I will not moderate comments that don't follow my point of view. I will moderate comments and delete comments that are just plain disrespectful, that are inflammatory in a way that is not about reconciling that inflammatory statement. I would love to have a real and honest and true and, again, respectful and civil conversation about this. If you have things to say or add, please respond in the comments. Please share this. Please respond with your own video, whatever it is that you feel like you have to do. But this is a super important topic, and it's gone on for far too long. And if the only thing that I can do right now is make a video about it, that's what I'm going to do. Thank you so much for being with me. Again, you don't have to be. You could be anywhere. You could be watching any video right now. I greatly appreciate the time that you spend here with me. And I will leave it at that. I will see you in the next video. Thanks. Bye.